Hi everybody. So in the last video I went over some of these basic demand and supply concepts or guidelines. They're basically guidelines, all right? So let's just recap and then I'm going to show some things. So first of all, demand. All right, so basically it's ease of movement. We have big rally, big price spread, that's demand. What else is demand is effort reward. So your price tries to go down on heavy volume but can't. That's demand. So this is demand on the way down is effort reward, and on the way up is your ease of movement. So on the way up you have a big green bar with a lot of volume. On the way down you have a lot of volume but you don't have a big green bar, you have a small green bar. All right, so demand on the way up, demand on the way down. Same thing with supply. Supply on the way down, big red bar with a lot of volume, and supply on the way up, you have a lot of volume, but you don't have a big red bar, you have a smaller red bar. All right, and similarly, lack of demand and lack of supply. Lack of demand is the opposite of the ease of movement, in that you have a small red bar with small volume. Lack of supply, you have a small lack of demand is when you have a small green bar with small volume, and lack of supply is when you have a small red bar with small volume. And then lack of demand can also be when you have increased price spread on the way down because there's no limit orders. There's no limit buy orders, so you have a big bar and it doesn't require a lot of volume. And lack of supply is when you can have a big green bar and not a lot of volume because there's no limit orders overhead. All right, so that's the basic idea. It's really the ones that you really need to know are ease of movement, effort reward. These two things you have to know, and the lack of demand and lack of supply. Small red bar, small volume, and small green bar, small volume. All right. So it's not rocket science, but you need to know how to, first of all, you need to know what they are, and then have the ability to identify them. Now, why is this important? Typically, when you have a trend, you have a rally, you have a pullback, and then you have a retest. It's typically on these retests, it could be the ABC retest, like on the second leg or the third leg. But here's usually where you get a lack of supply. And what happens after that is the market shoots up. Then again, ding, 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 and you have either lack of supply or you might have effort. You have effort. And then it'll shoot up again, and then you have 1, 2, 3. And over here, you probably can't even tell what this is because it's increasing volume and increasing price spread, and this one can't really identify. And then you'll probably have some effort and a lack of supply, and it goes up. So typically these are two situations that happen all the time. Why is this important? Because this here is indicating a lack of supply, which is what usually happens before you have a rally, and this here, this pullback here, is effort, which is an indication of demand. And you have that before you have a rally. So these two cases, gotta know them, and you have to be able to detect them. So how do you detect them? Well, using those guidelines, what we do is we use wave volume. On an intraday basis, you use wave volume. On the other basis, on daily charts, you want to use just price spread and volume. But on the intraday, or it's maybe I'll just show it. All right, so I'll give a very easy example here. I don't even know where I am. All right, here. This is a rally. All right. So now, what did I just say? On the pullback, we're looking for lack of supply. All right. So these two indicators here, one is volume, and the bottom one is volume, and the top one is price distance. All right. So bottom is volume, top is price distance. So now we're going to take a look at the first pullback, and you can't really judge based on the first pullback. The first pullback is it has another use. All right, it's not we're always looking for the second or after pullback, either the second leg or third leg or the fourth leg, right? Typically the first is what you compare against. All right, so it goes down, and how much price spread and volume do you have? You have this much volume, and you have this much price spread. You don't need to quantify it too much. Just take a look at it. All right, you see, okay, we have that much volume, that much price spread. Now, by definition, what are we looking for? We're looking for lack of supply. What does lack of supply have? Reduced price spread and reduced volume. Reduced price spread and reduced volume, which means less red and less red. Less red, small red. All right, that's it. The red should be decreasing. Price and volume should be decreasing. That will be your lack of supply. That's what we want to look for. All right, so we have our initial baseline. The first leg is what you're going to be comparing against. So now we wait for the second leg. Second leg, right there. What do you notice on the second leg? Is this red less than this red? The answer is yes, because it is. It's a smaller distance. So we know that price distance decreased. Price distance decreased. That is reduce price spread. Reduce price spread. That's basically the distance. So it reduced. The second part of the definition is reduced volume. Is this volume reduced? Is it less than the prior red volume, the prior leg? Yes. Now you have reduced volume also. So this qualifies as a lack of supply. Why? Because from the prior leg, your supply is decreasing in both distance, meaning the price spread, and in terms of volume. So this is your wave volume, all right? It is less volume and less price spread than the prior leg. So what you can say is supply is lessening. It's decreasing because of reduced price spread and reduced volume. So there you have your lack of supply. Now you can see on this third leg also, it's even less. So this also qualifies right here on this pullback, less price spread and less volume. So here you also have, by definition, a lack of supply. Why? Because from the perspective of volume, it decreases, and perspective of supply, distance, price spread, which is the distance of the wave, it decreases. Okay? So we get the first leg of supply, and we compare the second leg to the first leg and see it is decreasing in supply. And the same thing you do with the third leg and see that this is also decreasing the supply. After that, it has a minor spring, and bang, there she goes. Right? Do you have any other examples? A lot of examples. All right, so I think that's enough. But typically, there should be a lot of examples here. Just look at the red decreasing, because typically what you'll find is the supply decreasing. Can I show you an example of where the effort is, where there's demand? So this situation, you have the price decreasing here. the price is decreasing because this red histogram is less than the prior one. The volume is increasing from the prior leg. So that's actually telling you that there is demand. And then finally, just goes up. All right. So those were the two cases, but the easy one is lack of supply. And also note that it's always a good idea whenever you see a rally, taking a look at the first pullback. The first pullback should have less volume than the rally. So as soon as you have a rally, market rallies, look at the first pullback. The first pullback is always, always, always a key indicator. All right, so this is the rally, and let me just bring this up. What is the definition of demand? Rally on increased price spread and volume. Does this rally have increased price spread and volume? Yes, this is demand. Does this rally have increased price spread and volume? Yes, this is demand. Done. So rally on increased price spread and volume, done. All right. After the rally, what we want to do is find lack of supply. All right. And I showed it to you there. There are other examples as well. Is it here, here? Even this is very little. Right? Now, again, do we see, more demand? Yeah, we do. Rally. What is it on? Increased price spread and increased volume. And the first pullback is weak. Very, very important. The first pullback, you can see, is weak. Chances are this thing is going to keep on continuing because of that. We always look at the first pullback. First, we want to make sure the rally has demand. How do you do that? Just take a look at the price and the volume. Both should be big green or big blue or whatever, right? And after that, we take a look at the first pullback. That tells us, yep, chances are for continuation. Why? Because it's small red. All right. After that, we take a look for, whatever, lack of supply or effort or something. But, the idea is to get in. All right, because the trend is favorable. The demand is there. It's proven itself with big blue. And that's about it. Yeah. Oh, and there's one other really key thing. Whenever you have a rally, right? Why I explain about the first pullback, right? This is very important. When you have a rally, you always want to take a look at that first pullback. I know there's something wrong with this pullback immediately. Why? Because this is a rally. The pullback is less, but it's strong. It's so strong that it's stronger than this blue, this blue, this blue, this blue, this blue. What's going on? So this is one way they shake out and accumulate. But if you just take a look, you'll notice that one of these factors, either price or volume, is going to tell you that someone's buying the pullback. And then it blasts off. Right? So this is it happens a lot. Usually in the morning when they go one way and then they reverse it the other. All right, let's take a look at some other examples. It's another example right here. This rally goes down and the pullback response is a little strong. So you have to be a little, careful. Here it's much cleaner where you have the biggest rally in the last 10 waves, and then it pulls back right to that resistance area. Even this pullback is not normal. This pullback is telling you there's going to be a change. But it's not a normal pullback. It's too strong. Right? Let's take a look. This one we're going to examine. Typically the pullbacks, you want them about halfway. So when they go to like 75, 80%, just be careful. Especially the first pullback should not be that strong. So here what we see is we have a example of a rally right here. And the indicators aren't perfect. You have to still use judgment. But yeah, I mean, this is a rally, right? See big red, big red. So what do we know? This is a rally to the downside, which means supply. Big red, big red. First pullback around 50% of the height. And there's some volume as well, but it looks like a decent pullback. After that, what we want to do is take a look for lack of demand. So the subsequent waves have decreased price spread and decreased volume. And the one after that also has decreased price spread and decreased volume. See the decrease? Even if it's just small, even if it's a little increase, but it's just weak, it's telling you that there's a lack of demand. But in generally, it should be decreasing, and it should have this type of look. Watch this. This is the rally. These are its pullbacks. This is the type of look it should have. Like that. Descending. See that? It should have that type of descending look as it pulls back. That's the, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just it's a feel. You can detect that the demand is, all of the waves are weak relative to the rally wave. You can tell it, Even here, I can tell after this down wave with big red, let's delete this shit. You can tell, look at this one, I can tell it's not going to go nowhere. It's almost like a trend line you're drawing down like that. And it comes up and up, but it's going to fail. The price and the volume are going to fail because it has this look, right? And to the upside, also if the rallies overshoot too much, just back off, all right? What time? This is 1, 2. It's way too early in the morning, but you get the idea. Here is after 9, and you can see that they have this look. Supply decreasing, supply decreasing, supply decreasing. They have that look, right? So that it's like this is the demand, and that's the overwhelming force, right? Everything else, it's almost like a wedge, it's like the falling wedge, that type of thing, and then it busts up. And then the next one also, see, down, up, down, down, down. It's gonna try to do it, but this something wrong, right? How do you know it's wrong? Because yeah, it went up there, it went up on more volume, but look at the price spread, where something's not right. There's more blue volume than this blue volume, and less blue distance than that blue distance. So this is where supply started entering, because it took a lot of effort. Something's not quite right. And then I get this rally indication which is telling me something's not right. Here you have that a lot of supply, but the response is weird because it's too strong. You can tell that it doesn't have that descending easy wedge, where because of that response, there's a lot of price and there's not a lot of volume. Do you know what situation that is? Lack of supply. Rallies on increased price spread and reduced volume. So there's less supply because you are able to rally on little volume. That's not a good sign if you're able to rally on little volume. So this one usually we don't think about, but you know, whenever you have that response there, you need to consider this situation, because it shouldn't be able to rally that much on a little bit of input. It means that there's no overhead supply, right? But anyway, a lot of times markets aren't really that easy to see, but you know, you just have to see the structure and the clarity of the demand. For example, this is clear demand, right? So just back off until you see clarity. Let me just draw this thing right here. And it'll forecast, you know, higher. Here, you know that if your rally is this strong and then the response is that strong, that the trend has changed. Why? Because you have too much supply. So now you just draw the line and you'll be able to forecast direction. And not really forecast, but I mean it helps with the forecasting. All right, guys, that's about it. So I'm really just trying to show how to apply these things on the on this chart. All right, and I think I've done that, and also a very easy trick to show you what's going to happen to price. Now the other thing to remember is that if it's like during weird time where the market's not active, nothing works on a dull or dead market. So if it's like in the middle of the night or some session where there's no volume, it's just garbage. All right, so you need activity, you need clarity, you know. So I can detect this right here and say, yeah, it's going up. Why? Because I see movement and it pulls back and it's going up. Here I'm getting concerned because it's above halfway, significantly above, and I don't want to mess with it. Right? Here demand takes over. Here's supply, and there's the open and all that crazy stuff. All right, so all right, take care. Thanks. Bye. Shut this off.